It feels like every time I make one of these videos lately, I need to include the words, "the world is on fire," because right now that's an apt description. I'm not just talking in abstract, there have been a lot of fires in the UK and worldwide lately sense. Several of these fires have been quite close to where I live, or have affected places I know and love. Here are some pictures of Dunwich Heath, taken a few years ago. It's a place greatly loved by my family. It's beautiful, isn't it? With all that heather in full bloom. It doesn't look like that now. It looks like smoking charcoal. It took 2 weeks from the start of the blaze to the area being stood down as a major incident, though at time of writing the situation hasn't fully resolved, and it is still not safe to venture around the heath or beach. While the worst of the fire has been taken care of, fire officers will need to remain on site for some time to monitor further fire activity, monitor hotspots, and to dampen down. Hi, I'm Dr. Eleanor Tufnell, an environmental scientist, and today I'm going to try and answer some of your burning questions about wildfires. We'll examine their causes, how climate change is making things worse, what effects they have on habitats, how wildlife is affected, and what impact rewilding has had on wildfires. This isn't natural. It's easy to think of wildfires as a force of nature, but most wildfires aren't truly wild. They are typically of human origin. Naturally, this varies throughout the world, and there are some places more prone to natural fires than others. In such places, wildfires may happen regularly enough that local plant life has adapted to better survive or even take advantage. Some seeds, for example, are only activated by the heat of a fire. Natural sources of wildfires include lightning, volcanic eruptions, and in extremely rare cases, spontaneous combustion, which can happen when dry organic matter heats up internally, resulting in ignition. That said, the vast majority of wildfires, both in the UK and globally, are caused by humans. It's estimated that in the UK, 85 to 90% of wildfires are started by humans. And my goodness, we have a lot of ways of doing that. Right now, disposable barbecues are banned in the UK. Campfires, cooking fires, bonfires, and barbecues can easily start fires this time of year. When vegetation is so dry, I and many fire departments would advise against any of these right now, but if you must, then only do so in areas designated for that purpose, and observe proper fire safety procedures such as ensuring a campfire is completely out before leaving. Look, I love a campfire and barbecue food as much as the next person, but right now it would be better to skip them in favour of a picnic, or if you're at a nature reserve, they may even have a cafe. Most people can grasp that a bonfire or barbecue might start a wildfire, but people tend to be less aware of the dangers of littering. Cigarettes and disposable vapes are an obvious fire risk, but litter generally can help spread a blaze, and anything reflective or transparent, such as glass, can spark fires. Those pretty metallic balloons people love to release for celebrations, well, aside from potentially choking wildlife and livestock to death, they can also spark wildfires. If you're feeling particularly helpful, maybe bring a bag to collect litter from the less considerate visitors. Also, fireworks. Seriously, guys, I know they're pretty, but lighting fireworks in the middle of a drought is a particularly unwise choice. And look, if you want to do a nice gender reveal or other celebration, please avoid anything that might cause ignition. It is frankly embarrassing that not an insignificant number of fires have been started by gender reveal parties. The careless use of equipment can easily result in wildfires, through metal striking rocks, overheating engines, and a lack of spark arresters for equipment that produce sparks. Power lines can also be a danger if they are downed or malfunction. They can easily ignite dry vegetation. While many of these are out of human negligence, one particularly dangerous source of wildfires is deliberate acts of arson, because oh wait, I can't say that word on the YouTube. Look, just think of your favourite insult and let's pretend that's what I used here. For reasons of mischief, malice, entitlement, financial enrichment, or boredom, these people decide it would be a jolly good idea to set fire to the countryside. Regardless of the cause, vigilance and preparedness are vital to both preventing wildfires and catching them before they become too extreme. It probably doesn't need saying, but if you spot a wildfire, even a little one, please do contact your fire service immediately and get to safety. It's bigger than just us. It could be argued that nearly all wildfires, even those started naturally, by lightning for example, have a human element in the mix. Because while bonfires and arson are direct ways humans can cause wildfires, we're also causing them indirectly. The number of wildfires are increasing year on year and have been for decades now. Not just the number of fires generally, but the number of devastating ones. Now, the reasons are many and complex, but climate change is a powerful driver of this increase. I can hear the climate change deniers rushing to my comments section as we speak. Thanks for the engagement, guys! The best known effect of climate change is increased temperatures. These dry out vegetation, making it more flammable. This makes fires more likely to ignite, but also allows them to spread quickly and burn hotter. As vegetation adapts to a changing world, there is a shift in which plants grow where, which can mean conditions that favour more flammable plants such as grasses and shrubs. The warmer conditions also favour pests and disease, which can weaken or kill trees. High temperatures and water stress can also stress habitats, leaving ecosystems too weak to fight off infestations of pests or disease, which in turn adds larger quantities of dead, dry fuel for fires. As the climate heats up, we see longer summers, and this extends to the period of time during which wildfires are likely to happen. A prolonged wildfire season means more time for wildfires to start and to spread. And by longer fire season, I mean that, on average, the fire season has lengthened by 27% globally, though this is particularly the case in the Mediterranean, the western portion of North America, and the Amazon. Climate change is causing increasing numbers of droughts, as well as lengthening them and increasing their severity. Naturally, long periods of time in which no rain falls create the perfect conditions for wildfires, drying out vegetation and making dry grasses and trees more flammable. When you combine this climate change-induced alteration to the pattern of rainfall, things become even worse. Low rainfall's effect on wildfire is obvious, as dry conditions are more likely to lead to wildfires. But the converse can also be true. Higher than usual rainfall can increase the amount of vegetation in an area, giving the fire more fuel to burn when the next drought hits. After wildfires, the land can be particularly bare, leaving it vulnerable to erosion and landslides. Changes in weather patterns don't just mean changes in rainfall, but also in extreme weather events, including extreme winds. Such strong winds can not only fan the flames, but help fires spread and move unpredictably. Warmer air temperatures mean more moisture can be held in the air. This increases the chances of thunderstorms, meaning that climate change can also result in more storms, more violent storms, and, most pertinently for this video, more lightning strikes. So even natural wildfires may have an anthropogenic cause. What's even more troubling is this is becoming a vicious cycle, as these burns release massive quantities of CO2 that had previously been stored. Global wildfires add between 5 and 8 billion tonnes of CO2 annually, and for context, we humans emit around 37 billion tonnes of CO2 from fossil fuel and industry every year. How this is affecting wildlife. Some wildlife may be able to flee a wildfire successfully. Birds, for example, may be able to fly away, but this does not mean they are not negatively affected by the fires. If fires start during nesting season, generally March to July in Britain, then an entire generation of birds may be wiped out as nests, eggs, and flightless chicks are killed. The lost nesting habitat also means that birds may not be able to nest there again for years or even decades. Depending on the habitat, it could take a century or more to fully recover, if it ever can. Birds don't just need habitat for nesting either. They need shelter and roosts, so the loss of vegetation can leave them vulnerable to predators and the elements. Fire also destroys the birds' food sources, including insects, small mammals, fruits, and seeds. This means birds will need to relocate, and this puts competitive strain onto the habitats they move into. Wildfires give off massive amounts of smoke, which can include toxic gases and fine particles, all of which can damage animals' respiratory systems, causing long-term health issues and shortening life. Smoke can also disorientate birds and may disrupt migration routes. All of these factors can also affect other creatures, who may be less able to flee. Small mammals, amphibians, and reptiles may be unable to escape and be burned or suffocate from the smoke. Larger animals, such as deer or the famous Dartmoor ponies, may be able to flee, but flames can travel fast, and there may not be a viable escape route. Smoke inhalation can be deadly long before the flames arrive. As my many habitat videos may have conveyed, habitats are not interchangeable. Certain species require extremely specific habitats, having become highly specialised. Displaced animals place an additional burden on surrounding habitats, which may already be struggling. Surviving the fire is only the first challenge. Surviving the aftermath, finding new shelter, new food, new water, and competing with others for those increasingly scarce resources all pose additional challenges to wildlife in the wake of a fire. No, it's not good for most habitats. This is a complex topic because there are absolutely ecosystems in the world which are fire adapted or even dependent. Plants may adapt to have fire activated seeds, to have high canopies that normal fires may not reach, adaptations to resprout or flower after a fire, or possess natural thermal insulation so that they can survive fires. For fire-dependent ecosystems, fire provides disease control, reduces competition, promotes habitat regeneration, and releases stored nutrients as part of the ecosystem's nutrient cycling. That said, such ecosystems still have their limits, and particularly intense or frequent fires can disrupt the already delicate balance. In the UK, it is often assumed that wildfires are good for heathland, And this myth may stem, at least in part, from the fact that many heath plants, including heather and gorse, have some fire tolerance, and controlled burns are used to maintain some habitats. However, that fire resistance is only effective for relatively low-intensity fires. As wildfires are becoming more intense due to hotter weather and drier conditions, this frequently overwhelms the plant's ability to cope. The fires at Dunwich reached 600 degrees Celsius, that's 1,112 degrees Fahrenheit, in some underground hotspots. And yes, I did say underground, because the fires burn deep into organic soils and can destroy the root systems and seeds that the plants would otherwise use to recover. Again, if you've seen some of my habitat-focused videos, you'll know quite how important soils are. If those organic soils are stripped, it can take decades or even centuries to recover. Peat does slowly replenish itself, but I do mean slowly. It takes around 1,000 years for 1 metre depth of peat to form. So while some habitats may recover in 10 to 25 years, others really will take centuries or even millennia to heal, if they ever do. As for controlled burns, these are occasionally used for some types of habitat management. But they usually take place in cooler, wetter months and are conducted in, as the name suggests, a carefully controlled manner by professionals. They do not typically reach the intensity that wildfires increasingly do. For healthy heathland, and most other UK habitats, wildfires are devastating. In short, wildfires are too hot, too frequent and too destructive to be beneficial for UK, as well as many global, ecosystems. Rewilding isn't causing wildfires. It can actually help us prevent them. When devastating wildfires happen, it is good to look at the causes and factors that lead to them. But unfortunately, this can also turn into uninformed scapegoating. This is what can happen when discussing rewilding and wildfires, because there are two arguments that I hear a lot on this topic. Firstly, that because many wildfires start on nature reserves, this must mean that nature reserves are doing something wrong by rewilding. The second is fear that leaving wood in woodland to rot, or not clearing away brush, we're leaving more fuel for wildfires. The first one is easiest to debunk. Wildfires occur more in nature reserves because they are large and open to the public. It only takes one irresponsible or malicious person disregarding fire safety advice, and then you have a massive wildfire on your hands. The second is a little more complicated, so let's get into that. Disrupted weather systems from climate change may increase rainfall, leading to a lot of additional plant growth, which then provides fuel for fires later in the year. But one way to manage excess grass and shrubs is via controlled grazing. This may include wild animals such as deer, wild boar and bison. I have a video on the European bison's incredible return from near extinction. Or livestock such as sheep and cattle. These grazers eat off excess material, so it won't be available for fires. And they also help bury leaf litter when they root around in the soil. If anything, fragmented and degraded habitat pose the greatest fire risk. For example, upland heaths and moorlands are extensively drained to make them better suited for farmland, shooting and plantation of non-native conifer trees. When areas are drained, this can degrade the soil, and degraded soils are less able to store water due to structural changes in the soil and compaction. So water runs off rather than sinking into the earth. Dried out peat is particularly dangerous as it itself can become fuel for fires and smoulder underground and reignite fires on the surface. In my video on mosaic habitats, one of the benefits I neglected to mention is that a variety of habitats such as wetlands, grasslands and woodlands can act as natural fire breaks. So by reducing these mosaics and instead turning the land into monoculture, we reduce the landscape's natural resilience to fires. By restoring wetlands and healthy soil, this can dampen the intensity of fires and create natural fire breaks. Water sources can act as refuge for wildlife during fires. Strategic re-wetting of moorland and heath could involve adding man-made ditches to prevent water draining off the land and allow peat bogs to recover and retain water for longer, making them less flammable in the process. This may also mean proactively restoring habitats, particularly those that are struggling. Native species are often more fire-resistant and less flammable, so native broadleaf woodland provides much stronger protection from fire than non-native conifer plantations. Diversity of species and age can also provide resilience. The healthier the woodland, the better resilience and fire resistance it has. Leaving wood to decay is necessary for sustaining the woodland habitat, but is something that forest management may need to take particular care of during drought years. Oh, and bison aren't the only rewilded animal that are doing wonders for fire prevention. The beaver, covered in the same video as the bison, is also doing a fantastic job of creating and enriching wetlands. Beavers' presence help enhance the natural fire break properties of rivers and streams, and they do a lot of re-wetting of habitats for free. Rewilding also helps cool local areas, and healthy habitats are able to store more carbon. Conclusion. So I hope you found this topic interesting. This video has been a tad UK-centric because this is where I live, and where I'm seeing firsthand wildfires destroy incredible habitats. But much of the information is applicable broadly to other parts of the world. Even places that are fire-adapted are usually not adapted to handle fires of the magnitude and severity we're now seeing. As the climate changes, we will see not only more fires, but more devastating fires. It is exceedingly difficult to solve a problem if one does not understand that problem. And that's where videos like this one come in. We're not banning portable barbecues and fireworks and asking you to take home litter because we're party poopers who hate summer and fun. We're doing so to try and save your life, the lives of those around you, the lives of animals and plants, and the life of entire habitats. If you found this video interesting, please like, comment, subscribe, and share it with anyone you might find it interesting. As always, I've left a library of links in the description in case you want to learn more on any particular topic. So until next time, thank you for watching.